Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. My name is Jim Johnson. This is where we turn chaos into wisdom. 25 years ago, in my first chaos report, I wrote, if you begin with failure and learn to evaluate it, you will also learn to succeed. Failure begets knowledge. Out of knowledge, you gain wisdom, and it is with wisdom that you can become truly successful. In this program, we hope to turn chaos into wisdom. Our guest today is Debra Cote. Deb is the Senior Director of Dana-Farber Cancer Institute and Mass General Brigham's. She's also an adjunct professor at both Harvard and Northeastern, teaching project management. We want to learn from Deb where she sees the future of project management. We also have, as part of our panel, Hans Mulder, our European Research Director, and Kimberly Heroes, Oxford's graduate student. Deborah, where do you see the future of PM going?
So in general, I think that for project management, it's going to be focused more on outcomes versus outputs. Their PMI has come out with version 7 recently of the PMBOK guide, and it has turned the content upside down. It used to be process focused. It's really based on principles now. And I do think that they've done that because that's where the industry's going. And while we are always going to care about project management metrics, time, cost, scope, we'll always measure those. It's a given. I do think that we're going to focus more on the product and services outcomes. Why are we doing the project in the first place? And we've definitely done that at our organization, taking a look at what was the problem that we were trying to solve, or what was the opportunity we were trying to embrace, and did we accomplish that at the end of the project? So we do care at the end, were we successful in being as on time, on budget as we could within scope? But truly, it doesn't matter. If you did all that and you didn't accomplish what you were trying to establish in the first place for the business, then the project really wasn't worth the time or the effort. And the other thing I think that is going to be changing in the future is collaboration tools. We are not going back to where we were pre-pandemic physically. So I think there's going to be teams, that do go back. Some will be hybrid, some will never go back. And so virtual is here to stay. So we've had the tools like Teams, Zoom, Slack, Smartsheet, they've all blown up, right? And we're using those almost as much as email now. And they're good, but they could be better. I run a collaboration and productivity tools team. We are constantly finding bugs in the tools. And so it's happening, that upgrades happen quite often, but I do think that project management is going to be really leaning on those tools for the future. That's how we're going to have to communicate. And, PMs communicate up to 90% of their time. So how are you going to communicate and collaborate when you're not physically together? And we have to get more comfortable doing that.
So when you talk about teams, how big are your teams now? Have you seen any changes in that?
Not necessarily. I haven't. The teams really do depend on the size of the projects. So in my organization, we do run projects that could be small projects that we, only have 6, 7 people on the team. The core team sizes generally stay the same. We try and keep them to, 7, 8 people for the core team. But we do have enterprise-wide projects that the teams are much larger with an extended team. We've had projects that are up to 50 people, which makes the communication very hard, especially when we're using vendors or partners with the projects. So we're not co-located. And so the teams do get bigger. And so it really does depend on the project.
I know you teach at Harvard and the project management school there. How do you see the instruction on projects changing over time?
The thing I've noticed the most is actually sustainment. So sustainability is just a hot field right now. Almost everyone in the classes has either taking other courses in it or that's their major and that's what they're focusing on. So there's been a lot of, questions about managing projects and getting jobs in the sustainability field as a project manager. How is project management going to adapt to that? Which is, project management, isn't something that leads the way. It follows what happens in industry, and so I don't think that has all full circle yet. But it is something that I've seen the most in the past. I'd say three to 4 years now. I think the past couple of years things slowed down a bit, but that is the thing that I get the most questions about at Harvard. And I think that I also teach at Northeastern, and the questions I get there, I don't know if they have as many sustainability programs, but the changes I see there are more the understanding leadership as a project manager. We have some programs that combine project management and just general leadership, business leadership. And I do think that's one of the things that is really a change that's in the industry now is project managers need to be leaders, not just managers of projects, but they have to truly lead their teams and their people. So I see that being a change that has come over the past, 3+ years as well.
Hello, I hope you're enjoying this show. The show is brought to you by the Standish Group to help you with your insight and knowledge about projects and the project success. What we want to talk to you right now is about our new book, The Chaos Report, Beyond Infinity. This book is the culmination of 28 years of looking at why projects fail, focus groups, workshops, and profiles. We've looked at over 130,000 profiles over the last few years. And in this book, we look at the last 50,000 projects. Now, these projects are in depth. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of data points. And what we were looking for was the root cause of why some projects fail and some projects are successful. And we think we found it, and it's in this book. And that's why I think you should get this book. And so you will learn how to make your projects more successful. This book is 269 pages with charts and graphs and all kinds of good information. And it brings it down to just 2 or 3 things, or actually 3 things that will help your projects be successful. Now, projects are risky, and we're working on a new methodology that does away with doing projects. In fact, we think we can eliminate about 80% of the projects using this new methodology called infinite flow. But if you're doing projects, you need to read this book. You need to understand what makes projects successful. You can get this book on our website, in our store, and for a very small fee. And it's a hard copy. You can put it on your desk. You can use it as a paperweight also, but it is a very good resource. And every project manager and every project sponsor and every team should understand what's in this book. Now back to our show.
You see more advancements from project managers to executive suites?
Yeah, yes, I think that is, I think, falling again. It will take a while to catch up, but I do see project managers becoming managers and leaders of teams and going into the C-suite again, just somewhat starting now, but project managers are, I believe, looked at differently than they used to be. Project managers used to be technical people who led projects. Now, I won't say that has gone away. There's still organizations or pockets of people who they do ask SMEs, subject matter experts, to lead projects. But I do think the profession has undergone an understanding and change that these are people who their expertise is in leading teams and leading people. And they adapt to whatever technology that they are using, whether they or whatever subject or topic they are managing for their projects. But their expertise is leading people and communicating, thinking innovatively on things, being creative. So I do think those are skills that you see in leaders.
As these people grow, excuse me, as people grow into these leadership jobs, do you see them becoming more of the sponsors of projects, and how do you see that trend going?
I think they definitely could be. I haven't, in my organization, we haven't, again, I think it's people are just getting into those positions, or in the management positions of teams and of like hierarchical teams and departments, and a handful into the C-suite. So I don't know that it's come full to that extent yet, although they are the ideal people to be project sponsors because they understand projects. In my experience, my former deputy CIO started as a project manager, and she really understood projects, project management, the challenges that come with it. And she was a great deputy CIO and now teaches project management.
Great. So Kimberly, do you have any questions you'd like to ask Debra?
Yes, I do. And thank you, Debra, again for your time. So I think my first question for you is, you mentioned that you noticed that the PMI is switching from a focus on outputs to a focus on principles and outcomes. Basically, did we achieve the benefits that we set out to achieve? What do you think is the primary driver behind that? Why the switch, do you think?
I think because projects are costing more money and failing. And so you can't justify why you took the time to work on things, and they're not accomplishing what we set out to do. And so I think that, we're much more budget focused than we used to be. When I started in healthcare, which was very different than my previous positions in high tech and money, it still is all about safety, and that's always going to be the primary focus. But if you needed more money or you needed more time, you just asked for it, and sometimes money was there, sometimes it wasn't, but there was no such thing as schedules. And so we started focusing on that. And I would say almost too much, because that's where the industry was, the project management industry. And we weren't accomplishing what we set out to do. And I've seen that. I run a roundtable, a PMO roundtable for the Project Management Institute, and I hear the same things, that people were not accomplishing their goals, and where they're being measured on time, cost, scope, and that's really not showing whether or not you should have spent that time and that money. So I think that the project's not accomplishing what they did spoke for themselves, and I think that the businesses and the sponsors and the business owners realized, we just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this, and we still have the problem, and we need to find another solution. We need to do this project again. And so I think that is been the driver of that is focusing on the money, and do we have the time to do all this again, and and not achieving the end that we hoped.
I want to thank our guest and our panelists for being part of the show, and thank you for being part of the show. I hope we have given you a few minutes of wisdom. We look forward to seeing you next time on Wisdom Wednesday. This is your host, Jim Johnson.